7 seconds, that's all you get. Statistics show that first impressions take 7 seconds from the first moment you see someone, and 55% of that first impression is based on appearance alone. When it comes to the work environment, we want to appear put together and competent, with no imposter syndrome creeping in. We've come to associate business casual as the uniform of the professional employee. But what does that even mean? My first experience with interpreting this loose dress code came in college. I was in a sorority, shout out to Alpha Chi Omega, and any given Sunday, you see groups of girls crossing campus to the various meeting rooms and classrooms. Each sorority told their sisters to dress in fashionable business or smart casual, whatever that means in Miami. The sorority sisters had to figure it out, though, because otherwise we would not be allowed into the chapter meeting room for being improperly dressed and fined somewhere around $20 to $30 for missing a chapter meeting. That was quite a bit of money to me as a college student, so I became determined to figure out how fashionable business translated to my meager dorm wardrobe without buying too much new clothing. I'm proud to tell you that I managed to avoid a fine in the 3 years I was in my sorority, and that loose interpretation of business casual informed how I dressed in professional settings from that day forward. This isn't the norm, though, hence I'm up here telling you about my perspective, and I wanted to explore why. I first wanted to explore why business casual had become so prevalent in the modern workplace. We have Hawaii to thank for it, believe it or not. In an article from Marketplace states that the Hawaiian Fashion Guild successfully lobbied their state government in the 1960s to instate Aloha Fridays, or a day during the work week where employees could wear their traditional Aloha shirts. This style spread to the mainland United States in the 1970s and stayed fairly under the radar. From there, fast forward to the 1990s, and Aloha Fridays rebranded as Casual Fridays, a zero-cost incentive where employees were allowed to wear Hawaiian shirts and khakis to work. Dockers and Levi's set out to formalize what this dress code looked like, releasing a Dockers-sponsored how-to guide to thousands of HR managers across the country. From there, Silicon Valley embraced the casual dress code. Think Steve Jobs and his dad jeans, sneakers, and turtlenecks. And that permeated into our everyday understanding of workwear. One good thing that came from the pandemic was an emerging intolerance for uncomfortable dress codes. If you're working from home, you shouldn't have to wear a stuffy suit or a button-up. Even large global organizations shifted their dress codes during the pandemic. The Group of Seven is an intergovernmental organization made up of the world's largest developed economies: France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. They meet periodically to discuss the international economy, a traditionally formal setting, as you can imagine. Well, as reported by NPR in June 2022, the official Group of Seven portrait was published with a small surprise. For the first time in 40 years, members of the G7 were pictured not wearing ties. The scandal. Add in 2 years of working from home, and nowadays there is no true understanding of what business casual really is, creating an opportunity for employees to wear what truly makes them feel good at work. Even companies like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan shifted their famously formal dress codes, releasing an internal memo to their employees that told them to use good judgment, as cited in the memo, in their clothing choices. While wearing what feels most authentic with the framework of good judgment may be simple for men, that dress code creates more confusion for women. When women were first allowed to enter the workplace, they felt they had to assimilate, wearing the same pants and suits as men, essentially erasing their femininity and individuality. Now, constraining guidelines for women's wear in the workplace can lead to alienating employees, possibly affecting their sense of belonging. This rings true especially for young professionals just starting out. If you search online what to wear to work, most resources will tell you that business casual is the default and that women should wear skirts and slacks in office-appropriate colors. If you wouldn't normally wear a blazer, you shouldn't feel obligated to go out and buy one for the fear of not fitting in. There is a way to meld your personal style and your workwear, allowing you to highlight your individuality and personal style in an impactful way. Why is personal style important, especially for young women? Without it, you can feel like you're losing your personality in traditional business clothes. If you search online what to wear to work, most resources will tell you that. And there's huge limitations to many when approaching building a business wardrobe. Those styles can be expensive and hard to find, and it can feel silly to have a large part of your wardrobe only applicable to 40 hours of your week. In November 2022, the New York Times interviewed Santina Risi, an online creator who gained popularity for her crop-top-filled work wardrobe. She made the comment that she didn't want to buy clothes just for work, that it felt unsustainable to shop for clothes that only applied to a certain context. Having a strong personal style helps when approaching what to wear to work. You know the environment that you work in, so you should have the authority to choose your outfit based on your personal preferences, what's in your closet, and an understanding of your work environment. Ultimately, fashion forces us to answer the question, how do you want to show up in the world, just through what you decided to put on in the morning? Having the ability to choose what you wear to work can then also affect your job. How you dress affects your work. There was a concept developed in the 1980s called power dressing. Think working girl as a reference point. Women in more male-dominated industries like finance or law mimic the men's wardrobe of suits, but added their own feminine touch with bows and pearl accessories. While this way of dressing was initially meant to equate women leaders with male leaders in the workplace, nowadays we've evolved the meaning to allow women to feel confident and comfortable in whatever they decide to wear to work, not just a skirt suit. For so long, there has been a disconnect between professional dress codes in the workplace and the employees that work there. We graduate from college, start our careers, convinced that we need to get a black blazer, sensible heels, and J.Crew button-downs to fit into the company culture. If you would normally wear those clothes, you shouldn't feel obligated to go out and buy them. There is a way to allow your agency and personal style to shine through what you wear to work. We can look at General Motors as a perfect example of loosening a dress code to great success. In 2009, as the company was coming out of a recession, the then Vice President of Human Resources, Mary Barra, wanted to change the company culture. She started by reducing the existing 10-page dress code to 2 simple words: dress appropriately. Unsurprisingly, she faced backlash, with managers and coworkers calling her with hypotheticals about inappropriate dress. Barra stuck to the 2 words, though, empowering her managers and teams to make decisions with their teams instead of for their teams. You know your workday best, whether you'll be spending a day mostly working behind your desk or meeting with important partners, and you should have the authority to choose what you wear in those environments. Ultimately, fashion is a form of self-expression. It allows us to tell the world who we are just through our clothes alone. For me, I see my personal style as key to who I am. I love clothes. Maybe it stems from an early love of Audrey Hepburn movies and the fall Vogue issue, and it wouldn't make sense for me personally to get dressed in generic clothes to the office. Sometimes the best part of my day is getting dressed, because then I can ride that confidence wave all day. I wear patterns and lipstick, fun earrings, and cowboy boots in my day-to-day life, which includes work. There is no disconnect between my work self and my personal self. Maybe I'll save the cropped t-shirts and shorter skirts for the weekend, but ultimately, fashion is a way to show the world who I am. I'm excited for the next generation of office workers to join the workplace and continue to push the envelope of what dress codes are. I hope the question shifts from what should I wear to what would I wear, and we see workplaces become more colorful, more confident, and more authentic. Clothing impacts that initial first impression, and what better first impression to give off than somebody who is fully comfortable with their personality. Through allowing employees to express their authentic self through their clothes in the workplace, I hope that we can create more authentic environments where employees can bring their full selves, down to the shoes that they're wearing.